Jumping immediately into the patch changes, while there were no changes to Jinx directly, there were some changes to other AD carries that you might have to deal with as Jinx in the bottom lane, like Kalista, with the base attack damage being decreased. In their words, Kalista has been dominating the bot lane in professional play recently as a powerful early game pick. We're bringing down her damage a tad in order to make her less oppressive in the very early stages of the game, with the base attack damage going from 69 to 66, which means if you're trading early with Kalista, she's going to be doing a little bit less damage, as well as her CSing is going to be a little bit worse as well. It's kind of hitting both of those at the same time. As usual, make use of your rocket form to harass her, swap back and forth between it and the minigun. Just conserve your mana, of course, but there's that. If Kalista's been oppressive or like your go-to ban, maybe this will take her off that list a little bit. Leona, meanwhile, a support champion you might have to deal with or play with as Jinx. The Q mana cost is being decreased at all ranks, and the R crowd control duration is being increased, because right now, engaged supports are a bit weaker than they would like them to be post durability update. Which means, now usually on a Jinx, if you're getting caught by Leona, especially if she has her whole combo, you're probably just dead. But what this does mean for you if you're playing with the Leona, especially in the laning phase, because the Q mana cost is going to be decreased, you might see Leonas being a bit more aggressive because they have the extra mana, an extra Q rotation even as it goes on, even before you hit that ultimate. But with the ultimate, just for a reminder, it's going from 1.5 seconds of stunning to 1.75 seconds of stunning. So if you're a newer Jinx player or just a newer League player, there's this terminology you might have heard of in other games called chaining your CC versus stacking your CC. Stacking CC, which is crowd control, which is things like hard stun people, knock people up, etc. When you stack that, you know, it's all blown at once. And the reason that's bad is because one person's stun might have been a second, someone else's might have been a second, and a third person might have been another second. So that's a total of 3 seconds of stun that you just did all at once. So that person's only stunned for 1 second because they just stacked on top of each other. Chaining that CC means one person hits their stun, then you wait that second, and the second person throws out their stun, and then the third person throws out their stun, so that target is stunned up for like 3 seconds total instead of just the 1 second, and then maybe they die as well while they're CC'd. So I bring that up because you have the Flame Chomper. So when Leona first drops that ultimate, you almost have a full 2 seconds to deploy your Flame Chompers, which do have an arm time of about 0.7 seconds. But you can now count about a second before you even have to throw them out, and try and chain your CC together to keep that certain target stunned for a longer duration, you know, a quarter of a second longer now. As we continue to scroll down, we do see that Sivir with the mid-scope update, they say it's successful in putting her as a hyperscaling AoE marksman, but they need to kind of rein in a couple things. The attack damage growth is being decreased, the E cooldown is decreased at all ranks, and the R cooldown is decreased at all, or increased at all ranks. My bad, I read that wrong. E and R cooldown are being increased at all ranks essentially. So the spell shield, for example, and then of course the ultimate. But the attack damage growth is also being decreased. We talked a little bit about that when it comes to Jinx having to deal with that. Essentially, it's not base damage, so things like CSing and stuff will actually still be the same, but the growth per level, which can kind of be offset a little bit once she starts getting items, but you can kind of use that a little bit to your advantage too. If you can't fight Sivir, you can just worry about growing your AD as the laning phase goes on. You are Jinx, you too are a hyperscaling AoE marksman that will be able to match her in the later games. Sometimes the way you win a matchup, as dumb as this is going to sound, sometimes your way of winning a matchup is just denying the enemy getting kills on you. So that way they didn't get fed, and so then you get fed, and then you just count on you being the better AoE fighter later in the game. So that is an option if you've been struggling with Sivir. Thresh, meanwhile, the Q cooldown is being decreased at all ranks, and the magic damage is being increased at all ranks. So on the death sentence, the cooldown is going down as little as a single second at first. It looks like actually it's just a single second at all ranks. So that's not really going to feel too impactful playing with or against a Thresh. I feel in the laning phase, they're still going to be fishing for hooks as much as usual, just about, because it's only that single second. Maybe it adds up over time, but like per level, it's only dropping a second. The magic damage, meanwhile, is increasing from 80 to 100, and it looks like it's going up by 20, which when you count in his full combo, especially with a lot of, unlike Blitzcrank, which tends to max their Q, which is the hook for them, Threshes tend to put like a point into their Q, and then max their E, actually, for all the damage on the E. So when you combine, you know, 20 extra damage on top of that, Threshes are probably aggressive. They might be going, you know, Ignite and stuff. It can add up altogether a little bit, if not a lot of it. It kind of depends. But it means if you're playing with a Thresh, because Jinx Thresh is considered like a classic combo, like Nami Caitlyn, you got a little bit extra damage now coming out of just the hook landing to begin with, which could be nice. So there you go. Keep that in mind, though. Basically, just if you're playing against a Thresh in lane, dodge those hooks, because the magic damage doesn't matter if you're never getting touched. You know what I mean? Now, Zed isn't a bot lane champion that you're going to have to deal with as Jinx in the laning phase, but Zed represents something that's kind of being changed in general with energy champions, where they're kind of giving energy champions a lot of bit of love, if you will, just a lot of love. It's a little bit or a lot, you know, grammar and sentence structure was not really working there for me. But anyways, his E energy cost is being decreased, and one thing you'll notice in these changes is the W, Living Shadow. It has a range, right? If you put down the shadow, there's a certain range that you can reactivate it to jump back to that shadow. It was 2,000. Now it's just going to be no limit. It can be cross map if for some reason he can go that far before the Living Shadow evaporates, and he can jump back to it. And also note that this is an ability that sometimes is used in conjunction with the ultimate, depending on how the Zed player plays the Zed. And I'm just saying this overall because assassins, right? Like, assassins can be an AD carry's nightmare. Assassins are quite a bit of energy champions, and a lot of energy champions are getting some love. So the meta might be shifting in a way that will be a little bit dangerous for Jinx. So this is more like a keep this in mind. Now, there was someone like on the subreddit, for example, that plays mid Jinx. I tend to win more mid as Jinx than actual meta champions myself too, to be honest, and Zed before post 6 feels like actually a pretty fun matchup to bully, and then after 6, you know, he's Zed with his ultimate, so, you know, there's that. But what I'm saying is, keep in mind, if you start seeing assassins or just energy champions in your game, they're doing stuff like this for a lot of energy champions, but I'm not going to go over all of them. I'll just bring up Zed as a significant one, because yes, assassins roaming down to kill you in bot lane, you might need to be aware. And despite that, there are some other changes that we don't necessarily need to go about because they don't affect Jinx too much. I will mention, you know, Lulu and Kog'Maw are getting a skin. That's also another classic bot lane, so you might see Kog'Maw in your games, at least for first couple of days of the patch when the skin drops, because Kog'Maw mains, if they exist, will want to probably play the skin. So, that is all for the video, though. Thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. It's really appreciated, by the way, right now. As you go up and you hover towards that like button and you press it, I say thank you. You didn't have to do that, and you did do that. That's awesome. But I don't know which video will be next, because life can have a lot of kinks. So until this time, take care. ggGetJinxed. Thank you for watching, and enjoy pizza responsibly.